I'm Renee.
And I'm Gil from the Rich Relationship Refuge.
And we would like to welcome you to this session. We're going to be talking about trust. We really hope that you've been enjoying this time that you've had with yourself, getting to know your growth areas and your strength. And just like all the three in this room, I hope that you are growing and beginning to know and love yourself a little bit better.
So let's get started with
the agenda.
So this is our standard agenda that we usually show you every week. So in this week, we're going to be talking about trust. We're going to talk to you about what is it and what does it actually look like.
We're going to talk about why trust is necessary. We're going to talk about when trust is broken, and we're going to talk about how to rebuild trust.
You know, when you start out on a journey, I love taking road trips. So when you go on an actual road trip, have you ever asked for directions? I know I have. And when you ask for those directions, how many times do you really follow them? Well, I only follow them sometimes. Well, the reason why I only followed them sometimes was because it was only because of the source that I got the directions from. If I didn't really trust it, I really didn't have the confidence in following through on what they told me to do. So that's kind of what trust is. Trust is actually the belief and the reliability of the source of the information that you're actually receiving. In this context that we're talking about it's in this context of the relationship. So when you think about that, it's the ability that you have to trust in the person that you're with and also that you're in relationship with that actually is going to bring you a source of trust and confidence in that person.
Yeah, and it's also learning how to trust yourself. Because I think that's one of the things that when you're learning and you're growing, the ability to trust your own decisions and judgment, and even that little small voice inside of you that says, danger, stay away, or pull back. We have to learn how to trust the source of our information. We have to learn to trust the people around us, and we also have to learn how to trust ourselves and God.
So as you build those three things, you're actually going to start building trust in those relationships. And more importantly, it's going to build trust in yourself.
Yes, and that's a very essential part in building relationships because trust is important in order. So I always say that trust precedes love because you can't really love who you don't trust. And so in order to love yourself and others, you got to learn to trust yourself, your sources of information, God, and just get used to the process of understanding the importance of trust.
So when you think about that, what does trust actually look like? You know, each of us has our own personalities and own ways of doing things and looking at life. And we talk about it in the book. As you go through the book this week, you probably noticed it that when you think about your personality, and are you a risk taker, or are you someone that is quick to trust someone, or are you someone that's a little bit slower?
Yeah, and I know for me, I am really quick to trust, but I also realize that because I am an extroverted personality, I may appear to trust quickly, but the same quickness that I give that trust is also very easy to lose that trust. One of the things that I talked about in another book, it talks about when your actions and your story don't tell the same, when your actions and your words don't tell the same story, which one is lying? Well, what trust looks like someone saying something and doing the same thing, them being a one person in one setting and being the same person in another setting. And so understanding that trust is something that has to be built one decision, one interaction at a time. And to the degree you can trust someone will be the degree that you can get close to them.
You know, because that trust is actually built on the risk that is actually involved with it. Because by you trusting someone, you're actually taking a risk. You're giving up some of your control, some of your vulnerability, and putting it in another person. So that's understandable, but you have to rely on those other people being true to their word.
Yes, and the only way you're going to know that is to do look, like we said, making sure that their people's actions and their stories line up. Trust takes time. So you have to be able to give the person time to prove or to show you that their words and their story are the same. It's not going to happen overnight. So you have to be patient with the process of trust. Trust, like love, it has to grow.
You know, and when you think about what does it actually take, you mentioned it has to grow. But this is actually, when we talk about it, we call them trust trackers. When you think about trust trackers, you're actually trusting in someone that is going to be based on a series of things that they do as you are in relationship with them. Trust is a qualification process. If you think about it, you're qualifying that person based on the actions and interactions that you're having with them.
And you would say, well, why would I want to go through a trust tracker? Why do I have to have a verification process in getting in a relationship with myself, with God, with other people? It's because the foundation of something being reliable is its ability to provide results and to be able to do what it says. And so we have to make sure that we're not hastily making decisions that can hurt us later on without taking the time and taking the energy and being patient with the process of really understanding that trust is so essential to you really getting to know that the decision you're making is not going to be one you're going to regret. And so the reason why the trust trackers are important is because it's basically you're tracking, you're looking and saying, okay, I think about like when Joe and I were dating. If he said he was going to be there to pick me up at 7, he was there at 7. If he said that he was at work, he was at work. If he said that his name was Gilbert Jake Beavers, his name. And see, nowadays you have more ways to verify that people are saying what they're saying. There's nothing wrong with you doing the work and doing the research and doing the investigation to make sure that what you're being told and that what you're seeing is all lining up.
Actually talked about it in the belief system at the very beginning. It's the belief and the reliability in that person that you're in relationship with. When you think about it, it's the evidence of behavior. Just like Renee just mentioned, I was consistent in the things that I showed her and the things that I did. I was a person of my word. So you have to trust the things that you're seeing and that you're actually coming in contact with on a regular basis with the person that you're in relationship with. Because if not believing in the evidence that you're seeing, you're ignoring it, and that's going to erode your trust in that person because it's causing a internal problem with yourself. So you have to think about that. You have to trust not only the evidence, but also think about your past experiences. Sometimes if you had an experience that was negative or a relationship that was negative, you can't bring it forward into your present relationship thinking it's the same behavior. You have to take it on its face value for what you see today.
And the reason why trust is so necessary is because it's a building block. It's not based on attraction, it's not based on emotion, it's based on evidence, data, and facts. And so in order to have healthy relationships, we have to make sure that we're building on building blocks that are solid and substantial. And trust is definitely a very essential part of building relationships, and it's what we need to make sure our relationships are going to last.
But inevitably, trust is going to be broken because by us being human and in the fallen world, we are fallible. We are going to make mistakes. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's unintentional. But you have to understand that trust will be broken.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love that Claudette told me was that I'm going to hurt you and you're going to hurt me. And it's not because I'm doing it intentionally, it's because I'm human. And the way that someone can hurt you is to break your trust. Maybe they shared something that you shared that was private, or maybe they weren't where they said they were going to be. Well, trust is going to be broken. And I think that if you go into relationships with other human beings, understanding that trust is going to be broken, it helps you to manage your expectations. Because if you have a realistic expectation that just like I'm going to break trust, they're going to break trust, but it doesn't mean that it has to destroy the relationship. Trust being broken is a natural part of any relationship. And it's not that it being broken is the issue, it's when you don't resolve it. And it's understanding that when it's broken, you have to understand that is it worth you mending it? Because there are some things that when you look at it, it's not worth salvaging, but you have to ask yourself, when trust is broken, is this relationship worth the work that it's going to take to build the trust again?
So just remember, we are all human, we're all flawed, myself, you. So just think about it. The same things that you expect to be that you expect to give to someone, you have to be willing to do the same thing.
Yes.
And that kind of leads you into how do you actually rebuild the trust once it is actually being broken?
Because it's going to be.
Yeah. So when you think about it, it's going to take time. Time to repair, time restore, time to rebuild. Those are the things that you have to remember. It's not going to happen overnight.
No, and it's going to take both people involved, because the person who broke the trust is the one who has to initiate the building process. You can't make someone realize that they broke you can't make them feel repentant or feel bad for breaking your trust. Because if someone has broken the trust and it doesn't bother you, that's one of those trackers. If trust being broken doesn't bother them, more than likely that's their normal pattern. And if that's something that you're seeing as a pattern, that when trust is broken, they deflect or they accuse or they make you feel like you're the problem, then those are all indicators that the person that you're in a relationship with, that even with yourself, if you find yourself being defensive, if you find yourself not being able to accept correction, you find yourself, when you find out something about someone, you're quick to just totally destroy it, then you have to begin to understand that how you handle difficulty, how you handle when the trust is broke, says a lot about the individual, because trust being broken is a normal part of a relationship. However, it's learning how to recover from it.
You know, three words that you have to remember, and we talked about it in the book: time, grace, and empathy. If you think about those three things when you are having to rebuild trust in your relationships, give it time, give the other person grace. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not, and be empathetic. Being empathetic means, simply put, is I'm trying to understand how you feel.
Right. It's your pain in my heart. And so I love that when you're trying to build trust, you have to understand that you can't have a substantial relationship without trust. And so it's very important that you learn the tools necessary, that when it's broken, that you're not overwhelmed, and you're not shocked, and you're not devastated. I mean, it may hurt you and it may be painful, but you understand that when trust is broken, I have to assess, is this a relationship I want to rebuild? And then do I have the tools to rebuild them? And then take those tools and you begin to work on it, which is empathy, grace, and time. You need those elements to build trust.
And most importantly of all, it comes with and stems from your relationship with God. This is one of my favorite scriptures in all of the whole Bible.
Yeah.
Because early in my walk with Christ and in my relationship with Renee, it was hard for me to build trust because of past experiences and past things that I had. But just like the scripture tells you, you have to give some of that trust to now the Lord and not to other people, because if I have to stop leaning on my own comprehension, my own understanding, my own way of seeing things, that is what's going to help me to submit not only to the Lord, but to these other people that I'm trying to build a relationship and build trust with. And then all those things are going to become clear and my path is going to be straight, just like the scripture says. So that's just sharing you what it actually means to think about it in a practical sense.
Yeah, and a part of it is understanding that trusting in the Lord makes it easier for you to then trust. Because if you can trust a God you can't see, it makes it so much easier for you to trust a person and to trust yourself. And so trust is an essential building block in building a healthy relationship. So without the trust of the Lord, the trust of yourself, you're never going to be able to trust other people. And so we're not saying that you put your trust in people. You put your trust in the Lord, and then you extend trust or grace to the people around you, because it's going to help your relationships to grow, and it's going to make them strong. Because when difficulty comes, when trust is automatically a part of your makeup, and if it's your go-to, then it gives you something that's going to be substantial to build on.
So just remember, your relationship with Christ is the first and foremost thing that's going to help you build that trust, not only in other people, but most of all, even in yourself.
And if you don't trust yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to trust God and other people. And so that's why this whole time of us spending these 4 weeks together, next week will be week 5, is for you to just really do some self-examination, become aware of the areas where you need to grow, and understand that these are the building blocks for relationships. And if these are things that are lacking, you can go back and just keep going over and over again. And it's not like it's a one-time thing. It's something you have to continue to work on, and for the rest of your life, because we're human and we have different growth areas, and we have different strengths and different things that we're good at, and then different things that we struggle with. And so building trust is essential. And so just do the work, and remember that you're going to benefit from it when you do the work.
And make sure you go through those questions. We always talk about the inward journey is the longest one that you'll ever take. The questions in the back of the workbook are designed to actually help you on that path. So take the time, do the work, and I guarantee it's going to pay off.
Yes, because you got to work in and on your relationships. And most people are just working on them. You're not working in them. The way you work in them is by working on yourself and getting to know yourself because you can't give away who you don't know. So please connect with us on all the other platforms. The podcast is available to you. We have social media, lots of ways to connect so that you can continue on this journey of really having a healthy sense of who you are and your identity that's not based in another person. It's based in you as an individual, knowing that what you bring to every relationship is valuable, unique, and it is you. It's uniquely you, and that's your offering. Your most valuable proposition is you. Give your way to you're be able to give yourself away because you know who you are.
So remember, we're stronger together, and we'll see you next week.
And you are more than enough.